If you're watching this video, either you or someone that you know is about to go through a retinal tear eye procedure. I had mine done 2 days ago and I'd like to talk about the whole experience. So leading up to this procedure, I had been experiencing more than usual, just more floaters in my vision as well as some cobwebs. So I noticed this mostly if I looked at a white wall or if I was looking up at the sky on a really bright day. And if I move my head from side to side or my eyes from side to side, I would notice I'd always had some floaters in my vision for my whole life, but just recently I had been noticing that there's like an uptake, there's more, I'm not really sure what it is, so I wasn't sure if it was the pollution or if it's because of the change in elevation, just all of the traveling that I'm doing these days. But I decided that I wanted to go to the doctor to make sure that everything was working the way that it should be. And during that visit, he performed the normal eye exam, he checked my vision, he had me take out my glasses, checked the vision in both my eyes as well as dilating my pupils. And during that dilation process is when he was able to see that I had multiple tears in my right eye as well as in my left eye. And this, of course, was something surprising for me because I had thought that the last time that I was at my doctor in Minnesota that they had checked my vision, that they had dilated my pupils, that they had made sure that everything was working properly, that there were no tears. I remember that at one point they had mentioned to me that eventually I might have to have this done, but I wasn't sure when. And I wasn't really sure what that meant. What it meant to actually get a laser procedure done to repair tears in my retinas. At least for me, when I'm, presented with something that's not, immediate, it's not something that I'll go and research. Although I wish that I would have asked more questions about it back then, because when he told me that I had to get a laser procedure done to repair these tears, of course, me being here in Colombia, I wasn't really sure what to expect or how much I could trust the people here in Colombia. Granted, we ended up going to one of the best eye clinics in all of Medellin. So, I probably could have trusted him a little bit more, but it's just something with trust with me. At least in Minnesota, I've had procedures done there. Here in Colombia, had not had any kind of procedure done, especially something that's so dangerous if the procedure goes wrong. So you want to make sure that you are with someone that you trust, somebody that's not trying to use you for your money, because you only have two eyes and of course you want them to keep working properly. So this is brand new territory for me, and after I called all those people in Minnesota to just confirm that yes, this is something that's done, you should be okay, it's something that can happen randomly. Somebody that I spoke to that works in Minnesota, she had said that her retina detached. So one of the nurses that I spoke to said that her retina detached, and it's something that's hereditary, and it's more common in people that are very nearsighted, and that's what I was before I had my LASIK eye procedure done. Before that, I was basically blind. I could not see anything without my glasses. I think I was -6 in both of my eyes from what I can remember. So the LASIK eye procedure that I had done was great, but when you are very nearsighted, that means your retinal tissue is more thin than somebody with a eye that is not very nearsighted. So with all that being said, I called all those people and they confirmed everything that I've been hearing in Colombia, which made me feel a lot more comfortable with going through this procedure. So after I'd called all these people and they talked me through it all and they calmed me down, me and my wife ended up going back to the eye clinic to talk to an actual retina specialist. So the retina specialist said that this was not something that was urgent and not something that needed to be done that day or the next day, which of course made me feel so relaxed, because leading up to that point I was so nervous. My wife was nervous, everybody was nervous. I think my family in Minnesota was nervous. Everyone was not feeling their best selves because it's something that happened so quickly and so randomly. Like nobody was expecting this. But the retina specialist that I spoke to, he was very calm, he was very understanding, he answered all of the questions that I had, and we ended up scheduling the procedure 1 week from that day, so that way I could get myself ready for it, ready for the fact that I'm gonna get laser shot into my eyes to repair the retinal tears, which something that the retina specialist said to me is that either you can not do this procedure, which is highly not advisable, because that would lead to a retinal detachment in the future, which can cause partial loss of vision or total loss of vision, depending on if there's any complications. Which of course, with a retinal tear eye procedure, there can still be complications with this, but the complications with this one would be less than having an actual retina detachment. So that's just something else that I was informed of, that this needs to be done, that cannot avoid it. It sounds very unpleasant, and that's why I was so nervous, and that's why I wanted to wait 1 week to prepare myself. So leading up to that day, I would move between being completely fine with this to being a little bit more nervous, because of course leading up to this procedure I was doing a ton of research online, a ton of research on Reddit, some research on YouTube, which is actually why I decided to make this video, because I wish that I would have had a video like this to look at and to reference, because everything that I was reading made it sound like that this was not something that needs to be done, and it's something that can permanently damage your vision. Some of the articles that I found from other people that have had personal experiences with this, they had said that after this procedure is done, you might see like a black spot in your vision, or a rainbow, or like a cloud. But something that made me feel more calm and more confident with this procedure is that the eye doctors, I mean, if there is something that goes wrong, the eye doctors are sacrificing a small part of your vision to save the rest of it. So I'd rather be able to see something rather than nothing. So the other part of this procedure that I was concerned about was obviously the pain level. Some of the articles that I was reading on Reddit, as well as the YouTube videos, some people were saying that either they didn't experience any kind of discomfort at all, or there was one video that I saw of a woman that said it felt like getting ice picks in your eyes. So I was just nervous leading up to the procedure. I was reading, I was watching videos, I was trying to distract myself for what was about to come. So the day of the procedure, I was really nervous, obviously. We got to the doctor's office, paid everything that we needed to pay. Here in Colombia, you can pay for the medical procedures that you have. So we went to the best eye clinic here in Medellin. So it was a little bit more expensive, but I would rather have it be a little bit more expensive and having the people know exactly what it is that they're doing for something that's so important. So we got to the office, we paid everything, and then they brought me back into a waiting area where they started to prepare me for the procedure. They brought me into a room, they had me sign some papers, and they put 3 rounds of 3 different kinds of eye drops in my eye. So I remember one was the anesthesia, one was the dilation, and I can't remember exactly what the third eye drop was for, but they did this 3 times in total, and then one more time before the procedure actually started, the nurse put in another drop of anesthesia into both of my eyes. The actual room where they were going to perform the procedure wasn't that scary, which is great. It was more calming to me to not see some huge giant machine where they're gonna like pull apart my eyeball and do a bunch of stuff to it. It was more like the typical machines that you see when you get your eyes checked. It's one of those machines where you put your chin into the little holder, you wait there, and then they look into your eyes. So before the procedure started, I just asked the retina specialist some questions. Again, how many tears were in my eyes? So he said there are multiple tears in this eye, multiple tears in this eye. And then he also said too that some possible side effects could be where I couldn't like read closely. I couldn't read closely. So after he said that, I was like, all right, let's do this. So I got the last drop of anesthesia, put my chin into the holder, and probably the most uncomfortable part of the entire procedure was when he was trying to get the laser eye lens directly onto my eyeball. So my glasses were not on. They had this tiny little, I guess it wasn't that small. They had a lens like this big, but it goes directly onto your eyeball. And what it does is it focuses the laser to shoot the laser into the back of your eye, into your retina. So as they're doing this, there's a really bright light shining into your eye. So it was hard for me to keep my eyes open for him to even put it on. He tried to put it on this side first. He's like, look down, and I thought that I was looking down. And eventually the lens was on my eye. So he got the procedure started. As he went along, at first I didn't really feel anything. So the lens is on my eye like this, and then the laser is behind here like that. But as he started firing the shots of the laser, I could hear the wattage from the machine being counted off as like 100 watts or 130 watts. And he fired the laser, and each time he could fire it, and I could hear it, and I could also see that in my vision there was like flashes of yellow light. Like I could see the nerve endings or something in my eye. Like I could see these cobwebs each time he fired the laser into my eye. It wasn't as bad as I was thinking it was going to be. So for everybody that might be having this procedure in the near future, or for anybody who has friends or relatives that are about to experience this, it's not as bad as I was thinking that it was going to be. So just remember that as you're going into it. Just because you read one person's personal experience doesn't mean that same thing is going to happen to you. It definitely did not feel like ice picks in my eyes. The way that I would describe it is more so if you ever have some type of eye strain headache, it's sort of like he was giving me a headache. Each time he was firing the laser into my eyes, sometimes the location of where he was shining the laser would be more unpleasant than another location, or if one of the tears in my eyes was really big, then that means he had to put more shots of the laser into my retina to seal up that tear. So obviously it was going to be a little bit more painful. But the way that I would describe it is he was giving me an eye strain headache. So it was not as bad as I was expecting it to be in this eye, and then he moved over to this eye. I did basically the exact same thing, put the lens onto my eyeball, positioned the laser, fired the laser into the back of my eye, into my retinas, and yeah, that was about it. After he took off the lens, I couldn't really see that well. I saw a bunch of purple, like I could still see, but the way that I could see it was not in color. It was more so like seeing everything normally, but in a purplish hue. And he said that this is normal. He said like this is okay, like you can open your eyes, you can see. But of course also my eyes are still dilated, so it's difficult for me to see in the daylight. But overall, it was not that bad. And then when it comes to recovery and side effects, for me personally, I have not had experienced any type of side effect at all. Thanks to God, I can see perfectly. My vision is the same as it was before. I don't see any dots, I don't see any cobwebs in my vision, or any clouds, or any rainbows. I see the same way as I was seeing before. So, something that the doctor did say to me is that I could pretty much resume my life as normal. I can exercise, I can walk, I can lift weights. However, I was reading online and they said to wait maybe 1 to 2 weeks while the scar tissue forms in your retina. So you don't really want to mess that up, because if you mess it up, the procedure that they did on your tear might not take, and you might have to get the procedure done again, which is not what I want to do. So for me personally, I would rather lay low, let my eyes recover so I don't have to go through that procedure again. But if I had to go through that procedure again, I know now what to expect, and it wasn't that bad. So I hope that this video helped clear up any questions, any concerns that you had about this procedure. And if you have any other questions or comments for me personally, please feel free to drop me a comment or to send me a message. I'd be happy to answer them.